Good morning, everyone. It's about that time. Everybody, oh, I love it. Everyone gets quiet, attentive. It's going to be a good crowd today. I want to thank you all for coming here today. My name is Kevin Harbour. I am the president of BIzFed Institute, and welcome to our Workforce Development Forum. BIzFed Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit. Our focus is on identifying opportunities and obstacles that impact the regional economy. And what we do is we convene forums, programs, summits, initiatives, summits, and conferences, so that we can get decision makers into the room and talk about what's working right and what isn't working right. We bring people out of silos. We establish a platform for us to share information, which is really important because a lot of people walk in here 100% dug in with their ideas and thoughts and experiences, and when they walk out with maybe 70% of what they walked in with because they get an opportunity to hear information that influences how they think, how they operate, and how they execute. And that's really what we're all about, because with that, we can build consensus, and consensus leads to collaboration, and collaboration leads to action, sharing resources, and change, positive change. So before I go any further, that's what you folks in here represent. So I want you to give yourselves a hand just for being here today. Wherever you are in the city, wherever you live, you had to get up early this morning, get in the shower, get dressed, get in on the car, train, plane, bus, whatever, and you got here. And I appreciate that. A lot of talk is around workforce. And you folks are decision makers and leaders, stakeholders. With today's economy and just the state of the world, now more than ever, it's important for you to be willing to change, have a self-motivated commitment to be the best person that you can be, not only just to add value to the organization that you work for, but also understand that you are a member of this society, this community, and this economy, and you count. And the people that work with you or for you, they count. If we as a country, state, region, municipality are to remain competitive, because it's no longer about brick and mortar and doing business in your neighborhood, this is a global economy. With the advent and integration of digital assets and the reach that you have by integrating your business to these digital assets, now more than ever, it's important that you stay on top of things. I was pre-med when I went to UCLA, but that didn't happen because I had 2 jobs, and Xerox came up to campus, and here's a guy, pre-med, ended up working in business, right? And when I went down that path from reprographics to digital technology with the Xerox 820, then to Digital Equipment Corporation, which I have to choke when I say this, turned into HP after I left. Stayed there 11 years, and I learned a lot. I became an engineer because I had to pivot about 4 or 5 times in my career. And that's the name of the game. AI is here, folks. Know it. And when you look around and talk to your friends, those that are able to stay out in front and stay relevant, they're self-motivated to get educated so that their critical thinking capability is used, and that AI becomes a tool and not a crutch. And that's true with any technology. And the fact that you're here today is really important, because smart leaders, smart workers, smart entrepreneurs, we have to stay out in front, right? Not to get corny, but we're Americans in here. I look out and I see America in this room. And that's important. I don't care what's going on anywhere, the White House, Sacramento, City Hall, that's who we are. And I believe in it. I believe in all of us. All your tribes, that doesn't mean anything. We're Americans first, and let's keep us smart, right? I don't care whether you're Democrat, Republican, that doesn't mean anything to me. What means something is that for all of you to maintain yourselves and put your stake in the ground to be a part of this community, be a part of business, so that we can move forward collectively, because when we are together, we are strong. And I appreciate that. Smart people win more deals. You win more deals, you get an edge on your competition. When you are the leader amongst your competition, you get market share. When you get market share, you get predictable run rate revenue. And when that happens, now all of a sudden when you have a business plan, you can afford to roll out your plan. And even if you make a mistake, you have enough funds to recalibrate, mount back up, and execute again. So thank you for coming to UCLA Extension. Thank you for your willingness to get here on time. And with that said, I'm going to bring up our host, Dr. Eric Bullard, Dean of UCLA Extension.
You know, Kevin's a tough act to follow, of course, but I just want to add my welcome to each of you, and thank you all for coming today to Westwood and to UCLA specifically. You're in the Gayley Center. How many of you have been here before? So, all right, several of you. So welcome back. For those of you that it's your first time, this is in part home to UCLA Extension, which is the Division of Continuing Education for UCLA. Here we host most of our classes and programs for non-traditional students, people that are working adult professionals, some international students, but through our programs we serve an additional 34,000 students per year, in addition to the main campus student population, which is just up the hill. Today you're going to hear from a lot of wonderful speakers. We're really happy to host BIzFed Institute, Kevin and the team. I'm a member of his board, and really thankful for his partnership and his work over the last several years to support UCLA and UCLA Extension. So enjoy today, get to know us, get to know the facility, and you'll hear from me again very, very soon. Thank you.
Okay, so as a part of our process, it's important for us to reach out and make sure that we understand what's on the minds of those that made the commitment to be here. We had a significant number of participants in our flash poll. So next I'm going to bring up the CEO of Employers Group. Okay, my right-hand guy, my wingman, told me it's time to honor our financial supporters. So before I do that, folks, I want you to know that, again, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. Without our sponsors, we would not be able to do the work that we do. Take it away. There you have it. All right, now, so we're going to dive into our program now. I'm going to bring up Bill Stevens, the President and CEO of Employers Group. Employers Group is an organization that's been with us since I've been in this job for the last 6 years. They've probably done about 30 at a minimum, maybe 35 flash polls. And the flash polls are a reflection of what your thoughts, concerns, and your opinions are of the work that we have at hand and the subject matter. So Bill is, his responsibility is to, on a day-to-day basis, work with organizations to optimize their HR value and how they operate and bringing in the best talent possible. So Bill, come on up here and share your knowledge with our group.
Murphy's Law is in effect. Well, Blaine is doing that. Just want to thank Kevin for the introduction. And if you noticed, Kevin mentioned we're an HR consulting firm, so this is really exciting for me to be here to speak about these topics and our, in particular, this program. So forgive me if I nerd out a little bit because this is our space, human resources, workforce development, all that good stuff that is part of that. So thank you, Kevin. Thanks to the everybody at BIzFed Institute. Thanks to all of you for being here, and in particular to the 60, let me make sure, moving this forward. Yeah, 60 professionals who participated in this flash poll. This group represented a really, really good cross-section of different industries, including education, professional services, community groups, nonprofits. So we really appreciate that. We get a good kind of perspective of everything when we look at this. Overall, what are the key takeaways that we have? First of all, technology, and in particular AI, is a major concern and a major area of opportunity for our workforces. We're doing okay, but we could do a better job of developing our workforces. People over profits, kind of. I think we can say that in some of what we see here, which is great. Upcoming major global events are going to have a positive impact on our workforces. So a lot of really interesting and in some cases timely topics. You got a McAfee renewal notice. Those things are so frustrating. Always show up. There we go. All right. So the first question that we asked on this, and we always like to start out with kind of a general, kind of a more of a situational question. So we wanted to know, when I think about local businesses' current level of readiness to evaluate the skills of their workforce to improve organizational performance and to stay competitive, what we found overall is that there's a muted confidence in local businesses' ability to achieve better production through workforce development. Not bad, but it's not, we wouldn't say, oh my goodness, this is great. Everybody, we're being told we're doing a great job. So we see things like we're moderately confident that most are doing things correctly. Maybe we're not very confident, but and then as we get more, a little bit more direct about it, not at all confident, very confident, we have a little bit less clarity when we get down there. So overall, we're doing okay, but always room for improvement on this. Now we got into the technology issues a little bit, obviously, and we find that technology advances and skill development are hindering the development of our workforces now. And the question we asked was, which of the following workforce challenges is your organization currently facing? And really interesting when you look at this, from bottom to top, this is significant. This is a select all that apply. So even 22% identifying diversity programs, all the way up to 64% referencing keeping up with technology. We see that there is a really, really wide range of issues that are challenging businesses right now, and in particular when we look at the top two about technology issues, which is obviously a theme and something we're going to be talking about throughout the day today. But then providing continuous training and skill development, and this is forgive me for nerding out again a little bit here, but this is so critical. So anybody that's involved in this, that has an impact on their organizations, we're going to see this as a theme as we go through the poll a little bit more. But this is so critical. We dug in a little bit deeper on this, and we want to know what's the biggest of those challenges. So the ones that you selected as among your challenges, what's the biggest? And yeah, not shocking, but keeping up with the advances in technology really is the biggest challenge that we're facing. But then notice, and we're going to start to see this quite a bit, the people-related things. So yeah, technology is important, but finding qualified candidates and providing that continuous development. In other words, keeping our workforces motivated, keeping them learning more, keeping them developing more, that pays off across the board. The quality of today's talent pipeline. So we're going to step back a little bit. Let's look at the entry process, how we bring people into our organizations. There's no real clear consensus on this, but the question we asked was just from your perspective, the talent pipeline today is, and what do we see? It's decent, but it could do better. It's about the same as it was a year ago. So we have a good, but not stellar talent pipeline that's out there. It's certainly not the weakest, and it's certainly not the strongest, based on the opinions that we heard from our respondents. How do we find those? How are we going out there, and how are we looking for our candidates? So we wanted to know which of the following methods your organization uses for identifying candidates. And this is kind of interesting. It makes sense, right? Because we have big groups, we have small groups, and the one that's kind of common, whether you're large or small, have a lot of employees, a few employees, using job boards, using Indeed and LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter and those. But look beyond that. Look at employee referrals and career fairs. These are the interpersonal approaches. This is where we actually talk to people face to face and we learn more about them. That's how we get introduced to them. These are really, really great tools. So it's great to see as many using those and identifying those. I won't put anybody on the spot, but if anybody in here said family and friends, we got to talk. It's always one of our favorites, within the consulting community, the HR consulting community. People who think, gee, Aunt Zelda is a people person. Let's bring her in to, whatever, be at the front desk, whatever it might be. Yeah, because nothing's ever gone wrong between family and friends. So it's always a good idea to do that. So we dug a little bit deeper on this and said, of the resources that you're using, what has been the most effective? And this is great. This is really good to see. Employee referrals, that's been the most effective. And that is something that really, really is. It's always been the case. It's something that's talked about a lot, within the HR community. When you can get referrals from your employees, first of all, it means that you're doing a good job and people want to bring people that they know into your organization. And there's a little bit more of a trusted source for bringing people in. So great to see. One warning in case you do that or now you want to go out and do it is be careful of, you want to make sure you're still maintaining a diverse workforce, that it's not just all the same people. And I've seen this in groups that I've been in, companies I've worked for, where it's everybody comes in from the same college or whatever it might be. So you need to make sure you're still spreading the love in terms of the people that you bring in. But also great to see job boards and, hey, guess what? Career fairs. Kind of nice to see, right? Ties in and works out kind of conveniently for us today that career fairs are helpful as well. Now we get into some what I consider to be really good news, and this is the type of thing that kind of music to the ears of the HR community, but it really is about the people. That's what we got a lot out of from this poll. How does your organization measure the effectiveness of its workforce development initiatives? And look at what we're seeing here. Being fully staffed with qualified employees, lower unintended turnover, meaning fewer people quitting or leaving on their own, employee satisfaction, consistent upward movement, diverse workforce. These are really, really positive developments to see, that there's that much focus on our employees and the people within our organization. And notice that we get, there's less when we get down to the ROI and some of the other areas that are less people focused. So again, kind of happy to see that. Which of the following programs do you currently have in place at your organization? So kind of nice to see what are we thinking about? What have we put together to develop our workforces? And again, great to see soft skills, although we never liked the term soft skills, but leadership training, communication training, so important for developing your workforce and strengthening your employee relations. That's great to see. Obviously, we expect technology skills, training, use of AI. I think if we do this again next year, we're going to see that move up quite a bit because that's, I think, where we're seeing the biggest growth area is in the technology skills, mobility. So really great to see that there is a good range of programs. We took this apart a little bit, and this is a terrible question. I feel bad that we asked this. You know, it's kind of like a Sophie's Choice type of thing. So of the ones that you selected, that you currently have in place, if you had to get rid of them, which would it be? All right. Fortunately, most people said none. So we appreciate that. We gave you an out on that to say none. And you can see very little, you know, maybe some people felt forced to say something. So really no clear consensus as to, you know, nobody wants to get rid of what they have in place right now. So we were encouraged by that. Of the ones that you don't have, which would you like to have? And again, we see a focus on developing our people, an apprenticeship program. That's great to see that 33% of our respondents who do not currently have an apprenticeship program would like to have an apprenticeship program. And then obviously the technology skills. So I think that's everyone that doesn't, almost everybody that doesn't, is now accounted for with you know, we would like to have it even though we don't have it right now. So again, and then we see things like the employee mobility, which is so critical, and soft skills. You know, these are things that are going to keep our workforces strong and make them stronger. The last topic that we touched on was, you know, we've got this you know, almost like unheard of in the history of the world, literally, opportunity coming up with these big global events coming here to our region. We've got the Olympics, we've got the World Cup, we've got the Paralympics, we've got a Super Bowl coming up, and other things that we don't even think about sometimes. How is that going to impact our workforces? So we asked how this, you know, what we think is going to happen. So we want to know which of these statements people agree with, and really good to see. Look at the top one. 69% agreed that this is going to provide a unique opportunity for underserved communities to be part of the workforce. So we're going to all of a sudden have these new opportunities for people to be part of the workforce. And then obviously a lot recognizing this is going to be a great short-term positive impact on our local businesses. And then very few, when we look down toward the bottom, thinking that it's not going to have an impact or will have a negative impact. So we're getting really, really positive expectations for that in a lot of ways, because this is a topic we've been touching on a little bit at some of the other programs lately. Finally, we always have an open-ended question, and usually I say the same thing pretty much every time. Oh, this is my favorite because we get all these really wild ideas and, you know, big capital letters and exclamation marks and all that. Oh my goodness, this is all of them. So I don't think we didn't delete anything, only because I hope that everybody, when you get a chance to look at this, you're not probably going to get a chance to go through all of it right now, but there was not a single one of these that I would cut out. You know, these are really, really good pieces of advice. And think about this. So those that are attending the career fair, this is stuff that I would hope they would all be aware of. You know, when you're starting out in the workforce, when you're looking to get involved in a new organization. And a couple things Kevin mentioned, you know, about being ready to change and being flexible. And the first one we have, always make yourself stand out. Don't be cookie cutter, really important. And then things about being flexible, being open to change, because things are changing all the time. And you know, we could say it today, oh, with all the technology changes in AI, oh, we've never seen changes like this. But if 10 years ago, we'd be saying something similar, 10 years before that, things are always changing. They're always going to within our workforces, and good businesses stay on top of that, and they're going to need people to come in who can do that as well. So really, really big kudos to everybody that recognized that and provided that feedback. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much, again, to everybody that participated in the poll, and thanks, Kevin and Dwayne, for having me.
So next, I'd like the honor to have the honor of bringing up our keynote speaker, Dr. Eric Bullard. Dr. Bullard is the dean of UCLA Extension. You know, I have a personal connection with him because, as he said earlier, I serve on his board, and he serves on our board. But more importantly, we really have hope and we believe in our workforce. And in so doing, Dr. Bullard has expanded responsibility, I'd say, beyond just UCLA. But to talk about UCLA Extension without stealing too much thunder, one of the largest continuing and professional education providers, and no, that's just not me because I'm an alum, but these are the facts, right? 38,000 students across 102 certificate and specialization programs. Oversees UCLA's continuing education, but also California's continuing education for the bar. Huh? Bet you didn't know that. California's leading continuing education provider. So with more than 22 years of education at California State University's campuses, including Bakersfield, San Marcos, Long Beach, and Los Angeles, with no further ado, I'd like to bring up Dr. Eric Bullard.
See, I told you were going to hear from me again very soon, so thank you for that introduction, Kevin. Really appreciate it. So today, while I represent the UCLA campus and the University of California, I also in part want to acknowledge that most of what I'll talk about today also spans across the higher education ecosystem. And I'd be remiss in not acknowledging the significant roles that the community colleges, the California State University, and private institutions play in the work that I'm about to describe. Let's see. So, LA, to me, LA is the talent capital of the world. Just like we're the capital of the world in terms of entertainment, I think that we have just a tremendous amount of opportunity in terms of our labor and our workforce that is really important for us to focus on today as we think about how do we transform that workforce to really meet the needs of the future. And that's exactly what we do at UCLA Extension, which you've heard about a couple of times already, but we meet people where they're at. So one of our taglines is that we have all kinds of learning for all kinds of people. And we truly mean that we serve people across the lifespan. They come to us oftentimes, some people don't have a bachelor's degree, many do. Many of our students have master's degrees or doctorates, but they all have a common theme. They're lifelong learners. They're coming back to us to either pivot in their career or to move up in their own career world. The LA market, though, I want to just point out, if you start to look at our labor force, we have 5.1 million people that are participating in LA County's workforce. And currently we have about a 6.3% unemployment rate, which is a little bit higher than the national average. And so I think here, why I want to point this out is that there's an opportunity, despite the strength and the work that we all collectively do, there continues to be an opportunity to really work with people to help them train for the jobs that are available. And part of what you saw in the SNAP poll was that employers identified that they're having a difficult time finding qualified candidates for the roles that they have open. And that's where an institution like ours should play a more significant role in making sure that individuals have that opportunity to train for those jobs that are available. To me, it also ensures equitable access to not only higher education, but to the positions that are available across LA County. So, the skills gap. So here's something that I just want to talk about in terms of, traditional degrees are really important. I hold a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a doctorate. So I can't stand up here and say that I didn't benefit from the education system that's in place. But I would say that if you start to really delve into the data and start to speak to employers, one of the common themes that you're going to find is that the traditional degree really, unfortunately, no longer covers the full spectrum of what is necessary for someone to be successful in the workforce. I would be murdered if I stood up here and said that in front of faculty, by the way. So if any of you are faculty at UCLA, I apologize. But it is important that, again, a recent study found that 60% of employers believe that college graduates lack critical job-specific skills. And that's where I believe that what I would call alternative credentials step in. So what we offer through programs like UCLA Extension are certificates, specializations, certifications that help people really change, again, their outlook in terms of career opportunity. This slide has a lot of information, so I won't go through every element, but I would say that, over 70% of employers now consider skills gained through micro-credentials or certificates as valuable as college degrees for many of the roles that they hold. So that's an important thing to know as we go forward. This next slide, and many of you probably know this, but people are not staying in one job. So that's a significant change even from just 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. So this is recent data. Average people now have 12 jobs in a lifetime. I mean, that's significant. The average tenure at a company is about just over 4 years. And career changers, about 75% of the workforce changes their career over their life. So 36% are participating in the gig economy, and 50% of the skills that people are learning through bachelor's degrees or traditional education become obsolete within the first 5 years of employment. So, yeah. I'm going to go through this rather quickly because there's interspersed in like a little bit of a commercial for UCLA. But I would say this is where, since I have you, I'll say this is why it's important to think about continuing education and lifelong learning. Our new chancellor, Julio Frank, has made lifelong learning one of his core pillars for UCLA. He's only been with UCLA since January, but I can say that he's asked for us to move more aggressively forward in this space than I would have anticipated from a new chancellor. So you've already heard that we're one of the largest continuing professional education providers in the country, but our chancellor has asked us to do more. So in his mind, he's thinking about the entire university ecosystem coalescing around this idea that we have to serve people across their lifespan, that we can't just be here as a four-year institution providing access to undergrad and graduate degrees, but we really need to provide individuals and also society with this guarantee that we're a public research university, we're here for you across the lifespan. So here are just a couple of things we're doing. We recently purchased a building in downtown LA, so we created this pop-up space that we're calling the Bruin Collaborative. So we just launched that last week with an alumni event and with our first class offered in that space. It's acting of all things, but it's also, we're in Los Angeles. We've been expanding our healthcare partnerships. We've been trying to align our industry programs with the needs of employers in a more meaningful way through creating advisory boards. And we're also in the process of launching several different career pathways. So in my view, our learners are really the backbone of LA's economy. There's a picture of me. But what I would say about this, and you can't see it, so it's an unfortunate reality, is that every year we issue 3,000 certificates to students who complete our programs. 1,000 of those students participated in our graduation ceremony this past year at the Poly Pavilion with about 5,000 people in the audience. That to me is like the most exciting day of my entire year, because while we work through a lot of difficult and challenging realities working in the higher education space, to watch the families and the faces of the individuals who are completing these alternative credentials, it's very rewarding. And the reason it's rewarding is because it actually changes their lives. So commonly in the community, when I'm out, I hear all the time from people that they'll encounter me and they'll say, "Oh, what do you do at UCLA?" And I'll say, "Oh, I'm the Dean of Extension." They go, "You're kidding. I took a program back in 1990 or 1980, or I took a program last year and it changed my life. Like I was able to get a job, I was able to move up in my employment." So it's important. The next slide I want to go over is just looking at LA County through the lens of education. So I think more skills that people learn translate typically to higher wages, and which in turn, in my view, translates to business growth, and what Kevin was referring to in terms of making sure that you're supporting the people that are in your workforce. So I think that we can achieve a lot of things through education in terms of providing the opportunity for individuals to grow, but also to think about how are they actually then able to contribute back to society once they have these skills. These are a couple more kind of real stories from our recent pop-up space. And so we had this alumni panel last week. So I just wanted to provide you some real-world examples. So these are 3 individuals that completed certificates that are alternative credentials in nature. The first one, William Samayo, completed our Business and Management of Entertainment certificate while he was working full-time. He's now an executive at a local studio and is doing quite well. Rosa Costanza pivoted from technical to creative work by writing a screenplay that was ultimately selected for a short film that took her all the way to France. So transforming her life, someone that didn't think that she would ever be able to do that work, but then having your work realized in that way on a global stage. And the last person, Dulce Gallardo, an international student from Mexico City who earned her sustainability certificate, is now working for a software firm and bringing her real passion for sustainability to the tech sector. So again, these are programs that are changing not only people's lives, but changing the way in which we work across Los Angeles and across the globe. So each of these stories really, to me, reflects a different element of higher education that you don't often hear about. The workforce, as you heard, it's evolving, right? It's every day something changes. And so AI, I think, is the thing that we're all focused on at the moment. I would say that when AI first started to really come to the fore, especially here at UCLA, I will say that even me, myself personally, I was skeptical. I thought, this seems like cheating. You know, when I can watch a system spit out something that used to take me probably 20 hours, it'll spit it out in like less than a minute. I think, okay, am I cheating or am I actually advancing the work that I can do? So I actually evolved in my own thinking to really think of AI as a tool. And I think I heard someone say that earlier, is that the tool itself also is only as powerful as one knows how to use it. So part of what I think higher education institutions are starting to do across curriculum is to not only focus on AI as a training element, but incorporating that into curriculum so that you then understand that the AI, I mean, I can put a prompt in something like ChatGPT, it can spit out something, but then you have to verify that data. You can't just take it on its face. And so within our own teams, I will share that, you know, the campus gives us, thankfully, resources across all the different channels for AI. Our staff are in the process of looking at how do we leverage that technology to serve students so that we can help with the advising function. How do we use AI to also solve problems? Can we do market research through AI that will help us? So it's being used on a daily basis within our environment, but I would say that these skills really are making it necessary for us. It's accelerating our need to actually create new programming. I was speaking to one of our program directors about this just a few days ago, and I said, we're kind of to the point now where extension we think of as being at the forefront of learning, and we are in many ways, but in a lot of ways now, we can't keep up with the technology and the pace at which the technology is changing the things that we should be teaching. So we're starting to think about how can we create opportunities to, need water. How do we create opportunities to create shorter term snippets for learning? So thinking about how learners are actually accessing our education is something that I think we have to focus on as we move forward. Upskilling really, to me, is the new path for promotion. It's not new in many ways because it's been the case for decades, but I think increasingly companies are looking for upskilling and looking for partnerships with institutions of higher education. So the business case for why businesses should focus on reskilling and upskilling, this is a recent data set that was collected, and it demonstrates that, you know, workforce development and strategy is really imperative for every company. So reduction in recruitment costs for reskilling, because if you have a really talented person that you can upskill or reskill and move them into a different role, you're going to save time and money in terms of recruitment costs. An increase in productivity from continuous professional development. I think you're going to have happier employees that are going to feel like they're supported. And then the average ROI, if you look at the training component, is that it's over 300%. So I just wanted to share this data set because I know many of you work in the private sector or for employers. I can't say enough how important it is to provide these opportunities for your employees to make sure that we're continuing to train the workforce that not only you need, but that the region needs. For us, and I think again across higher education, I think higher education really needs to continue to lean into finding ways to think about programs like ours so that students can walk away without debt. And that's a difficult thing to do. So I will share that Extension at UCLA, like many continuing education units or divisions across the country, we're self-supporting. So meaning that we only survive by charging tuition. But increasingly, from a national perspective, there are conversations happening that demonstrate that we need to start thinking about these shorter-term opportunities for federal funding, for financial aid, for Pell Grants. So there is a lot of change happening at the federal level. I'd say California, usually we're at the forefront of these changes, but I think is moving a little slower than it should. I think higher education also, we've done this for many decades, but we've got to further lean into employer partnerships and do that in a much more meaningful way. I think for an organization like Extension, we do this all the time, but most main campuses really don't. So if you start to engage with faculty from a campus, you'll see that oftentimes there is a deficit in terms of understanding kind of the real world components of what employers are looking for. Regional hubs, as I mentioned, I think this is important that, you know, our primary home has been Westwood for decades. And even though UCLA actually started in 1917 through Extension in downtown LA, when we moved to Westwood, this became our home. This west side, how many of you think it's easy to get here? So this morning I laughed because I said I actually haven't been here in about a month. I know I'll wrap, I promise. In about a month, it took over an hour to get here. So it's not easy to get to the west side no matter where you're coming from. So having alternative locations for students and employers to be able to access education is really important. We do that through online, but I'd also make the pitch that increasingly what we see is that there's a skills gap, a soft skills gap in terms of younger generation's ability to network and to actually then engage with peers. So we want to provide those opportunities as much as we can. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, because Kevin's given me the hook, is that a pitch of sorts to you. So I've lived in Los Angeles for about 15 years. And what I've seen and I've consistently heard is that we're this amazing, expansive region. We do wonderful things. But what we often struggle with is connecting our resources. Sometimes we compete with each other in the same spaces in higher education and industry, of course. But what I would say is that we need to do a much better job of connecting our resources and leveraging the networks that we have. So think of a framework in the future where perhaps, I'm going to dream big, maybe we have a regional workforce council that we can bring together, where we bring together universities and community colleges and private sector entities to really talk about what's needed here. Because I think that's missing in our environment. I think LA County, the city of Los Angeles, we have these world-class universities, we have these amazing community colleges, but we don't all come together to work around common problems. So I would say, if you're interested in that, I'm certainly interested in it, and I think that's what I want to leave you with is, let's really build the workforce that LA deserves, but let's do that together. So thank you for the time today. Hopefully you learned something new, but thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bullard, for that wonderful speech and presentation. And so the hardest part of my job doing this is the fact that I'm the timekeeper. So I have to be the one to be like, all right, let's go. But when it comes to presentations like that, it's really hard for me to wrap it up because there's so much good information. So thank you, Dr. Bullard. We really appreciate it. Now, I actually have the honor of introducing Kevin Harbour. Kevin Harbour, the president of BIzFed Institute. So he already gave you a little bit of an background as what his professional background is. The only thing he left out was the fact that he was voted in as the inaugural steering committee chair for California Jobs First initiative. And he was done that overwhelmingly by his peers based on his leadership. And his leadership, I'll sum up in a story. And this is from an event that I had this year. We were wrapping up for the event, and there was a group of individuals there who decided to give me, my accolades and, great job, great event today. We heard that you work with Kevin. I said, well, I work for Kevin at BIzFed Institute. And these are all, these are three people that actually, if I was in a fraternity, my fraternity brothers wouldn't have been this kind. These are three of his fraternity brothers that all said, no, if you are with Kevin Harbour, you don't work for Kevin Harbour, you work with him. And if you know Kevin Harbour, that's exactly what he's going to say. You do not work for me. We work together towards the mission. And so today is a big example of what that mission is, and that's why you're here today. So I'm not going to take any more of your time, and I'm going to invite Kevin Harbour up here to come moderate this panel.
Thank you, Blaine. You were kind and you didn't reveal any secrets. I got one of my fraternity brothers in the room. he's promised to keep the skeletons buried. So in all seriousness, folks, I want to thank you again for attending, and I have a distinguished group that I'd like to bring up. We're going to go ahead and start our panel. We're going to talk about success stories and the work that's being done in their particular organizations. So first, I'm going to ask that the panel members come up and introduce themselves. First, we'll have, and I'm going to call them all up at the same time. So if Dr. Noel Hasagawa is in the room, we'd like to have him come up. Cynthia Mitchell-Hurd, we'd like to have you come up. Kim Fedrick, we'd like to have you come up. Okay, so Noel had to feed the notorious parking monster meter, so he'll be joining us shortly. And Dr. Jennifer Zealot. All right. So while you introduce yourselves, we're going to give you a couple minutes, and we're going to start with. Now I'm going to start with this first one because Cynthia Mitchell-Hurd, CEO and president of the LA Urban League, she had a great event yesterday, which I had the honor of being a panelist. All right, we're back in business. I had the honor of being a panelist. So, Cynthia, introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what happened yesterday.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know you were going to put me on the spot like that. My name is Cynthia Mitchell-Hurd, and I am the president and CEO of the Los Angeles Urban League. I'm actually the first woman in over a century to lead the Los Angeles Urban League. So I stand on the shoulders of many, and I'm very honored. Yesterday, we had over 700 people attend the Los Angeles Urban League State of Black Los Angeles. It was a combination of civic leaders, philanthropic, corporate-private partnerships. A lot of the electeds came, and we were just delighted to have conversations that focused on healthcare, economic engagement, as well as the topic that we know right now in Los Angeles and across the country is very serious, and that's immigration. We had speakers like Maxine Waters, Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager. We had Dr. Shirley Weber. We had the mayor, just to name a few. And so our partners are the University of Southern California and its new president. But more importantly, we are the first organization that NBC and Telemundo in our third year has aired in the 3 years, 5 hours of live broadcast. So it went not only to, we were not only able to attend, but the purpose of that, and I brought Telemundo in over 3 years ago, and that was to give that olive branch, bridging the gaps in solidarity between the brown and black community, but also letting people know when we're in rooms like this isn't a secret club. We need to have more and more people understand what we're trying to do. We're only trying to get to the end game, and the end game is impact. And so we're very, very excited. Stay tuned. I'd like to see 700 double to about 1,400. Of course, Kevin was a participant and a panelist yesterday on the economic conversation. So all morning I've got nothing but hearing great news, and you should have seen something last night on NBC, and it'll keep running for a while. So thank you.
Next we're going to have Dr. Jennifer Zealot, AV College President, Superintendent.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Kevin, for inviting me to be on the panel. My name is Dr. Jennifer Zealot, and it's my privilege to serve as the Superintendent President of Antelope Valley College. It's located in Lancaster, California, which we're up the hill, but we are part of LA County. And it was also a privilege to serve alongside Kevin with California Jobs First. And it's been really a pleasure to get to know the whole LA region through efforts like that. We are nearly 100 years old at Antelope Valley College. In 2029, we'll celebrate our centennial, and we have something in common, I am the second woman president in the nearly 100-year history of the college. And so, we also are going through growing pains and, learning what it's like to be an institution of higher education in 2029. And I'm very proud to say Giovanni, one of our alum, is here, and it's so good to see him. So.
Okay, so next, let's go with Kim Federick, Chief Program Officer of JVS SoCal.
Thank you, Kevin. It's nice to be here, and thanks for inviting me to be on this panel. So I am the Chief Program Officer at JVS SoCal, and we have been around for about 95 years, not quite. We're looking forward to getting to that 100th year. And we have about 20 locations around Los Angeles County. And we have programs that serve mostly LA County, but we also reach out to Orange County, Riverside County, Ventura County, and our newest career training program has just launched their first cohort up in the Bay Area, so stretching a little there. Our programs are, we operate America's Job Centers and Workforce Centers, which is in partnership with the County of Los Angeles and City of Los Angeles. We also have Immigrant and Refugee Services, and that we work in partnership with Department of Public Social Services. We have a Veteran Services Division. We have our career training programs that are called JVS Works. And we have some scholarship and mentoring programs that we also offer to the community. We have about tens of thousands, maybe 20,000 or so people who come through our doors seeking service and help and assistance with their job readiness, job search, career development. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Kim. Cynthia, if you could share the mic with them. Next, we have Dr. Noel Hasagaba, Port of Long Beach.
Thank you very much, Kim. Good morning. And just for the record, I've got 2 hours on the parking meter, so I'm good. It really is a pleasure to be with all of you here today, especially as I hear and learn about the backgrounds of my co-panelists. I can't think of a topic that's more important than the one that we're going to be addressing together. I'm with the Port of Long Beach, and the Port of Long Beach has been around for 114 years. But over that time, like every entity and every industry and sector represented here today, it has evolved. And we are in the process of transitioning to the future. And when you look at an organization like ours, a massive economic engine, together with the Port of Los Angeles, our neighbor, we account for about 40% of the nation's waterborne imports. In fact, we just completed our latest economic impact report just in Long Beach alone. We generated about 2.7 million jobs across the country. That's over $300 billion worth of goods that our dock workers and our industry partners process. So this is a massive operation, and I like to say that goods movement is literally the economy in motion. So as we think about the future, as we transition to zero emissions, cleaner equipment, a sustainable supply chain, as we think about modernizing our infrastructure, we got to remember to keep the worker, the human, at the center of everything they do, because they truly are. Our workforce is the beginning and end of our success. So I look forward to continuing that dialogue with my esteemed panelists here. And thanks for having me, Kevin.
It's our pleasure, Dr. Hasagaba. We all remember when COVID hit us in 2020 and how prices at the grocery store mysteriously went up. Car dealerships, when you went to get your car serviced, somehow the prices went up because there were no parts. As Dr. Hasagaba said, those parts come, a lot of them, from the Pacific Rim. He has a big job down there at the port. I remember seeing pictures of ships lined up 2 miles, cargo ships with containers, billions of dollars worth of product. So give us a success story, because you have a big job as the CEO. Give us a success story on the things that you did in terms of workforce development to address issues like that, and even since then.
Well, you're bringing back a lot of flashbacks, right? A lot of the gray hairs I carry today are because of that. You know, at one point we had 109 ships at anchor, and a lot of people like Kevin were asking us, well, what's normal? How many ships are literally at anchor waiting for a berth? And the answer was 0. So that gives you a sense of just how backlogged the system was. And I say system because it wasn't just the ports. It was the warehouses, the rail tracks. Every segment of the supply chain was essentially backlogged because of COVID. But I'm glad to say that in 2025, Kevin, we're actually on track to set a new record for container volumes, which puts us above and beyond where we were during COVID, but with no backlogs, no delays, no congestion. And the question people ask is, how is that possible? How are the ports able to handle more volume than we did during the pandemic without the supply chain crisis? And the short answer is, it's the muscle memory. We all learned to work better together. Sure, some of our technology has advanced, especially technology that enhances visibility, data sharing, data collaboration has improved, but our ability together as a system to communicate, to coordinate, to plan ahead, things that you would assume from the outside looking in were already being done, we've drastically improved that. And again, this is why I keep saying the workers, the human, is the beginning and the end of our success, and this is why we have to continue to invest in our workforce.
Thank you, Dr. Hasagawa. Business muscle memory is important, right? It was mentioned by Dr. Bullard that, with what I call the economic tsunami coming with World Cup, Super Bowl, FIFA World Cup, FIFA Super Bowl, the Olympics, the things that we're learning now and the way that we leverage digital assets and technology to create a force multiplier is important. But upskilling the workforce is what makes all that happen without you having to invest a significant amount of money to hire more people in anticipation of more business that may or may not come as quick as you want. So with that said, I want to next move to Cynthia Mitchell-Hurd, CEO of LA Urban League. The Urban League has a long history of advancing quality and opportunity. Can you share a recent workforce development story that your organization has participated in that highlights what you do in terms of helping to uplift communities in Los Angeles?
Well, I'm really excited about this particular story. About 3 years ago, coming right off of COVID, when you reopen your office, it's been 3 years now? 3 years. 3 years. And reopening our offices, the Los Angeles Urban League chose to work hybrid. And so, trying to create those partnerships, there was some good partnerships and then those that you had to kind of recalibrate, that kind of got away from you. So we partnered with Intuit. How many people know Intuit? Okay. So as we were partnering with Intuit and knew that we had a small business pilot that we wanted to really embrace and see where we could grow that pilot program. So we all know that many small businesses and trying to expand their workforce and trying to expand how they intricately work not only with one another, but how their infrastructures work, right? So we were able to create a program with Intuit that allowed us to provide resources to small businesses. We started off in Los Angeles 2 years ago with a cohort of 25. And in that 25, we gave them business coaching. We also gave them business support, and we gave them a $10,000 scholarship upon their one-year cohort completion. We also gave them support in terms of counseling and gave them all the products of Intuit. So that would be MailChimp, TurboTax, all QuickBooks, etc. And we also gave them the intricacies of how to work with that in business development. I am proud to say that 2 years later, the Los Angeles Urban League has expanded that last year to over 100 businesses, not only in Los Angeles, but in Atlanta and Philadelphia. And this year, just this month, we've expanded now to over 13 across the country. In Los Angeles, thank you. And in Los Angeles alone, this last cohort of 50, we started off at a $500,000 support. We ran it up to about 1.3, and now it's 3.6. And in that, I'm proud to say that the revenue in Los Angeles through these businesses grew $5.5 million increase in business revenue for these small businesses. So innovation is really, really super important. Took a run on it, but innovation is very important. Thank you.
Cynthia, that's just amazing because once given an opportunity, let me take a step back. You've been in the job for what, a year, 2 years, year and a half, right? And my first experience was coming to one of their fundraising galas. I walk in the room and it looks like a Hollywood production. Probably about 500, 600, maybe more than that people. 900, yeah, you know. Cynthia is a force of nature if you haven't met her yet. And I'm not going to say the Urban League was in, let me say this. Winners love a challenge. They dumped something on her lap that she transformed so fast. It was amazing. And then, it's good to be able to manage the organization, but she's a rainmaker. Y'all know what that means, right? She brings in the money. And, to have that kind of talent is amazing. So I want to give you your flowers here because you deserve it, right? That's right. That's okay. A little stressed at a trip to Portugal and a nice glass of wine, you'll be all right. Okay. So next, I want to bring up someone from my part of the woods. I live in Antelope Valley, for those that you don't know. Dr. Jennifer Zillett. AB Colleges is doing amazing things in terms of aligning the curriculum, right, with the job requirements. It's a case where people aren't working in silos anymore, right? We talked a little bit about collaboration. Tell us a little bit about your work in aligning the curriculum with the evolving needs of industries like aerospace, clean energy, or the industry with manufacturing, healthcare, which are so critical to our local economy.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's really critical that people stop thinking in old siloed kind of manners because if we're a living organism, which we have to be in order to survive and serve our communities, we have to think about what an organism is like. The cells in our body don't have walls, right? They have membranes and things go back and forth and we all have our function, but it has to work together. And that's how we work with our community partners. I'll give you an example. One of our major programs at AVC is serving the aerospace industry because we're right up there. I know they've tried to change the name from Antelope Valley to Aerospace Valley. I've recently moved there and I have not seen one antelope, but I've seen a lot of planes. So, it's apt. But for instance, we have a major alliance with Northrop Grumman. We have monthly calls where I and the dean of the area that serves our aerospace programming, we, pardon me, I just had a halt in my throat because of this. But anyway, we have a monthly call where we check in to make sure that the students that they've taken on as employees are meeting their needs, and we check in about new amendments that need to be made with our curriculum. Is there anything that needs to be revived or amended? And we just keep that, thank you so much, we keep that as a regular touch point because the industry changes so quickly. And it's not just with aerospace, but with other industries as well. All of our CTE areas have advisory councils, and it's local industry members who serve on those advisory councils. And one of their responsibilities that they accept is to give us real and honest feedback about our curriculum. And so they look at the curriculum, they examine it, and they say, we're not really doing that in this industry anymore. We really need you to do X, Y, Z. And we amend our curriculum accordingly. Because our goal is to make sure that our students meet their career and education goals as swiftly and efficiently as possible, and that they go straight from us into a well-paying job. And you all know what good jobs are, right? Good jobs mean you only need one. You don't need more. And so that's our goal for our students, because when we get one student through that pipeline and into a well-paying job, their family has changed forever. They're for generations to come. And I serve an institution where we are 65% Hispanic, 15% Black African American, 12% Caucasian, And so we're a majority minoritized institution, and it is critical that for the area that we serve and for our students, that we make that pipeline big and efficient.
You know, when we met initially, one of the things that impressed me about you, aside from your youthful appearance, is your command and the presence that you hold amongst your staff and within the academic community in the Antelope Valley. Antelope Valley is probably one of the last frontiers where if you get a thriving wage job, you can actually buy a house, right? And that's important. That's important. The Antelope Valley has the ability, in terms of water infrastructure, to double the population. Big effort for fiber, big effort in terms of infrastructure, and you have an important job. I'm going to leave it one last comment. One of the things that she told me was, Kevin, I met a judge and I told him I was going to put him out of business. I said, well, what do you mean by that? She said, I'm going to give people an alternative. I'm going to make sure that they understand that there's a path to success. And for you, Mr. Judge, you're not going to have anybody in your courtroom. That was huge. So I just want to say that, give her her flowers now. Kim Fedrick, got a question for you. So JVS SoCal has been at the forefront of workforce development for decades. And I'd like you to share a recent story about your programming and individuals entering and re-entering the workforce. I know that you guys are doing some really impactful work. And please share some of that with us.
Sure. Thanks for asking. So I think I'd like to take a little bit of a journey through one of our participants and sort of how that plays into what we're trying to accomplish in the work that we do. And so one of the programs I wanted to focus on was our JVS Works program. That's our career training program. And to be in that program, you don't need anything more than a high school diploma. They're 8 weeks to 11 weeks long, and they are free to the participants who come into that program. And also they're hybrid. That's something that we think has worked out really well for us. That started during COVID and continued. But I want to tell the story of Brianna. She was a student who came to us, and she came into our Career Works medical program. And ironically enough, she came from the Antelope Valley. So we have a little theme going on here with AV, but she learned about JVS and our Career Works programs in the Antelope Valley. And she did the testing, assessment, interview process, got accepted into the program. She traveled on the bus down to LoBianco, where our in-class time is. She would have friends, we would help her with bus and transportation, and she finished that 8-week program. It's a non-clinical medical program, so learning medical terminology, learning customer service, and things of that nature. And I would just say, well, when she first came to us, she had, like I'm sure like all of us have seen, had changed a lot of jobs. She'd been through a lot of different jobs before she came in and found our program, and was really looking for a career, so I'm happy that she found us in our career. And one of the things that she shared with us, which I think is so important about all of the work that we do, was that when she came in, it was our staff that inspired her. It was their words, it was their confidence in her that gave her the confidence to actually make the trek, every day coming in for those 8 weeks and completing the program. When the program was completed, we do a graduation. That's how we, help our students to move to employment quickly, and she was hired full-time with RadNet. And so she now has full-time employment, she has benefits, she's earning a good salary, and she has one job, right? So we're like, fantastic. We want to see wage growth over time. That's something that we're really committed to and working towards. So a year later, after she's been working at RadNet, we happen to be starting another program called Imaging Works, again in healthcare and medical imaging. And so she learns about it. It's in partnership, like I said, with RadNet. It's an earn and learn. It's our first earn and learn program that we're doing. She applies, gets accepted into that program, and now that's 11 weeks where she is at a different RadNet site with clinical staff, taking classes virtually with our clinical staff, learning soft skills again, working on those aspects as well, graduates. Gets her DEXA certification from the state of California, which is no easy thing to do. The things that these students are learning, physics, mathematics that I can't tell you how to calculate. It takes a lot of determination and a lot of study, a lot of work, and also a lot of support from our team, from our teachers, from our program coordinators to help them make sure that they can get to class on time, they can get to work on time, removing those barriers. So she graduates, she's got her certificate now, DEXA certificate. What does she do? She gets a promotion, now she's earning more. And now, there we go. We're starting to see that career path, and that's what JVS wants to see. That's what we're trying to accomplish in our programs, career pathways.
I think that's awesome. You know, I think, give her a hand, give her a hand. I think that, you know, you've heard our first round of questions, and I think that some of the important things that are important for your organization and for yours as well, Dr. Zealot, are the soft skill aspects, right? You can get educated, you can have the opportunity, but, you know, we were all taught how to dress when we walked in an interview, right? What to wear, how to speak, how to present yourself, how to cut through the bias so you will be the first woman in 100 years, and hopefully it won't be 100 years, right? That's gone. That's not going to happen anymore. But the point is to remove the bias. That's really what it's all about. So I want to commend you on all of your efforts in making that happen, because these are the change agents. These are the folks that are the tip of the spear that are leading the charge. And with that said, Dr. Hasagawa, how is the Port of Long Beach in terms of programming and port partnerships? How have you advanced to build clear career pathways to young people, especially those from underrepresented communities, into high-quality maritime logistics and trade jobs? And let me be clear. When I say underrepresented, that means it doesn't matter what your ethnic or racial background is, because there are people of all colors in this room. Very few are born wealthy. There's a path forward, and you have to make sure, but there's also those that are in the back of the line, and we know what that means. And it's important that we make sure that everybody has a leg up.
Thank you for that. By the way, let me give Kevin his flowers, because he's doing an amazing job of facilitating this. Thank you, Kevin. And setting the scene and really bringing us together. You know, I'm in an industry where ships are important. But the most important ships are not the big vessels that bring cargo from overseas. It's the relationships, it's the partnerships, it's the friendships. What I'm hearing here today from my colleagues is how critical it is for us to come together to ensure that the workforce of the future is properly equipped, trained, and adept, so that it's an inclusive, broad effort, so that every member of our community has access to these good-paying jobs. In our industry, for example, goods movement, if you asked the average person who's sitting in a C-suite chair, or anyone in our industry, how they got into the industry, most of them will tell you they kind of fell into it. It wasn't something that was planned. And yet, when you look at the jobs that our industry offers, they're good jobs. They're great jobs. They're the kind of job that you hold on to for your entire career. And so one of the things that we've taken on as a Port Authority, going way beyond our traditional mission, is to play a very active role in workforce development. And it's the partnerships with community colleges, the Unified School District, the four-year universities, our industries. So we're playing the role of that broker that brings everyone together. And we're saying, how can we, number one, expose our youth to these incredible careers at the port and beyond? How do we get our community colleges, our Long Beach Unified School District, in our case, our four-year universities, to align their curriculums and their programs to ensure that we're creating these pathways? So let me just give you a couple of examples of how we're doing that in Long Beach. Since 2016, we've partnered with the Long Beach Unified School District. We're now onto 3 different career pathways. In Long Beach, students have the option of selecting a pathway, and that's intended to steer them towards a certain major in college. We started off with Cabrillo High School, the Academy of Global Logistics. We've now trained 1,000 students, many of which have gone on to four-year universities and pursued careers in logistics. And then 2 years ago, we developed the ACE Academy at Jordan High School in North Long Beach, was predominantly Hispanic, African American. And then just this year, we worked with Polytechnic High School in Long Beach to establish the NOVA pathway. And that's to expose our youth to careers in sustainability and auto repair, for example, advanced auto repair. So we're trying to cover all the bases to ensure that our youth in high school have access to these incredible job opportunities, career opportunities that an organization like ours fosters. So that's just one example. Another example is the project labor agreement. We're in the middle of a 10-year project labor agreement that creates and ensures that there's no disruption in our $3.2 billion CapEx program. That covers all the trades. So when you look at what we're doing at the Port of Long Beach as we build the Port of the Future, we have a $1.5 billion program that generates tens of thousands of jobs for all trades across the system. And this project labor agreement, since June of this year, has already generated $45 million in wages. I mean, think about that. That's life-changing stuff, Kevin, that we as a Port Authority have the honor of doing to support our community and at the same time create a pathway so our youth are exposed to these incredible career opportunities and have access to these jobs.
So I want to put an exclamation point on that. From my knowledge, going back with the Port of Long Beach, I have relatives that worked at the port in various positions and still got 2 cousins right now working there. I didn't tell you that, no. But the bottom line is that the work that he's doing, it touches cross industries, right? Because if certain industries don't get their products on time, they don't get to sell. And if they don't sell and generate revenue, there are layoffs. And that means an unpredictable run rate revenue for families is critical. His work, and as the operations, chief operations officer, that's your responsibility, you know, but you welcome it and embrace it. And, you know, I'm really thankful because I thought about who could I bring in that touches all industries. And, you know, and when I invited Noel to be on our board, he accepted almost immediately. And I appreciate that. So, Cynthia Mitchell-Hurd, back to you. In terms of collaborating, which you are an incredible individual that collaborates with business, government, education. Tell us how you're connecting workforce training programs. How does that really impact real high demand job opportunities?
Well, for us at the Los Angeles Urban League, it's really super important for us to cross-pollinate. It's really super important for us to look at those industries where people of color normally don't have access. As we know, the Los Angeles Urban League, our mission is to make a place at the table and to build access for all, not just African Americans, but people of color. So with that said, recently over the last year, we've really gone after a lot of high-pack funding in workforce development, looking at careers such as, well, doing, first of all, pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. That's key for us. Second of all, going into industries such as AI, clean energy, entertainment, hospitality, construction is another big one that we're working on. And I'll tell you how we're working on those. For example, we were just awarded about $1.5 million with High Roads. And in that High Roads, that's where we will do the funding for AI and clean air. It's not a space that we've been in, but we knew it was important for us to go into those spaces if we were going to create opportunities, especially for youth and others of color that don't get opportunities in these spaces. I think we talked about that, the jobs that are moving along and being created and leaving certain populations behind. So it's important for agencies like ourselves, the Los Angeles Urban League, to kind of kick down that door and say, no, 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 we're here. And this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. We also have really started to increase our involvement with unions. The Carpenter Union is one. Organizing and working with kids that come out of their system, social justice, and some of them have come out of being incarcerated. We know what that means. If when you're incarcerated, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to get back into a job. If, in fact, you are a working mother, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to infiltrate the workforce. If you are a foster youth, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to not only assimilate. And so it's agencies like ourselves that have to broaden the eligibility and criteria and sometimes bring in these training programs, because often corporations, as we look at that, don't want to look at people unless they are stellar. And we know that there are often people that aren't stellar, but they're good people. They have the tenacity to get the job done. People just have to give them a chance. And so that's what we like to do as well. But I will say, on the other hand, what we're very excited about is you can come from Harvard, Yale, you can be a Nobel Peace Prize, and at the Los Angeles Urban League, we still have a place for you at the table. So it's very multi-didactic. I really want everybody to know that you don't have to be down and trodden. It's not just about that population. It's about serving all and serving the full continuum of care. So when we go into corporations, whether it's in education, whether it's in aerospace, whether it's in construction, we let everyone know that everyone's going to not only have a space at the table, but we're going to hold you accountable. You are not just going to cherry pick. Those days are over, and I think we all can say that. If we're going to have something that's not so homogenous and more didactic and creative, somebody has to stand up and somebody has to say, everybody is going to have a chance at these great jobs. So, thank you.
You know, I'm inspired. I don't know about you. I'm inspired, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about accountability, and you have to be self-motivated. You walk into her space, there's no game plan. You get there on time, we're ready to do business. See, when you have a leader talking about industry sectors that are sustainable and training people, no matter who you are, you heard it, no matter who you are, training you to be successful for a thriving career, that's what's needed. Because we're who we've been waiting for, right? Nobody's going to come and hand you anything. But if you're motivated to look for a place that's going to get you prepared, here it is. And she doesn't play. And she also knows how to get the money in to make sure it's going to be around for a while. So thank you for your work. You know, Dr. Zillette, you know, in my experience working with people like Drew Mercy and Juan Carrillo and the Antelope Valley Eastern Kern Water District and others, you know, there's a lot of opportunity where the front door for higher education could be a place for workforce training. And so there are a lot of success stories. I've walked around campus. I've seen she's building a whole new campus. From the time that I moved to the Antelope Valley 4 years ago to now, it doesn't even look the same. And she even invited me to be on the Citizens Oversight Committee to make sure they're spending money right. And they are, you know. So talk to us about what you're doing in that regard, Dr. Zillette.
So I can take next to no credit for all of the wonderful things that are happening there. I, too, stand on the shoulders of people who came before me, and there's been a lot of people who've done a lot of good work. Measure AV, which is renovating the whole campus, it was passed in 2016, and the community is invested in the college because they recognize what the college brings back to the community. I can't hardly go anywhere in town or in the whole Antelope Valley without running into people who have been there, their parents were there, their kids are going there. There's a generational investment in the institution. And so because of that, there is a real privilege of service. And our strategic plan is built on service. In these days, calling something a master plan for probably 1,000 reasons is inappropriate and irrelevant because culturally that's not an okay metaphor. If anybody in here is an engineer, you also know that if something is the master, it's the thing that cannot be changed, or else the thing itself is not the thing anymore. When change is happening by the second, some metaphor of unchangeability or immutability absolutely doesn't work. So our service plan, everything that we do is a service plan, and our plans are made, how does this serve our students? How does this serve the community? And so when I think about that, I think about the extent of our programming. In last year, similar to Dr. Bullard, we actually serve a lot of the same population. And you might say, but wait, that's UCLA. Yes, but what they're doing with their extended learning campus is reaching untraditional learners, non-traditional learners. And we have the privilege of accepting the top 100% of applicants at our community college. And it's because we open the door for people who, for whatever reason, whether the system has negatively impacted them and let them down, whether they're justice impacted, we have the largest concentration of former foster youth in the Antelope Valley. And for those of you who are understanding of that population, you know that that population is most at risk for housing insecurity and food insecurity. We offer all of those populations and everyone a chance at education when maybe they haven't had, other doors have been shut to them. And so by coming in and looking at how our programs are direct, maybe they want to transfer, maybe they want to go right into jobs. We're one of the few community colleges that have been allowed to offer baccalaureate degrees, and so you can get a bachelor's in airframe manufacturing technology or respiratory care. Either of them are attainable for under $12,000. And so to Dr. Bullard's point about cost-free education and making things affordable, these are very affordable degrees and credentials that get people into well-paying jobs. And so everything that we do is done with an eye to how does this help this student or this group of students meet their needs? And how does it get them from where they are to that next step in their lives? One of my big pushes is I want to give students back their 20s. If they're coming to us straight from high school, our financial managers in the room know that the dollars you invest in your future in your 20s are worth exponentially more than the dollars you might put away for retirement, even in your 30s. And so we want to give them back their 20s, get into the workforce, start saving, start doing all of the things that make your future life stable, enjoyable, and all of the things, you know, that the American dream is about, right? So it's just an exciting opportunity because, you know, we offer education at our main campus. We also serve we have an incarcerated student program, and we serve on 3 yards there in the institution that's there in Lancaster. And so they come from there into, if they're able to be released, they can come straight into a Focus 180 program, which helps them with expungement of their records and helps them go and navigate re-entry into society. And so we are always trying to look and see who is it that we're not serving yet and how do we get there?
You know, that is so critical. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Real quick, we're going to hit you, Kim, and then we're going to go to Q&A. I want to say this, though, before I start with you, Kim. A company by the name of BYD is doing the same thing, and they're partnered with Antelope Valley College. They hired a formerly incarcerated individual. Let's forget about what society says about people who go to jail. When you're young and your brain hasn't developed fully and you have no hope, sometimes, and you're under a lot of pressure, sometimes you make bad decisions, right? It should not dictate what happens to you the rest of your life once you grow up. There are a lot of situations where people don't have mentors, examples, opportunities, food, housing security, and they make bad decisions. So BYD hired a formerly incarcerated individual. He came in early to the interview, performed on the interview. They hired him. He was working so hard and so well, they made him a manager. After he got a manager and a few promotions, he said, you know what, I can get a girl, or, you know, got married, bought a house, started a family, right? This is what America should be about. No one gets left behind, right? Either if you judge, you will be judged. So keep an open heart and mind. Kim, So as chief program officers, you see a wide range of initiatives. And what program models have proven most effective in preparing people for good paying, thriving, sustainable careers, particularly in these high growth, sustainable industries that are on the table now?
I would say the things that they need now are the things we've been talking about, and whether it's like a high road, all in terms of jobs, I think they kind of play out similarly. So soft skills. When I've talked to employers, the first thing they always say is soft skills. That's really important. So baked into every program that we offer, soft skills are a part of that, whether that's just career mentoring or whether that's our, short-term training programs. That's really important. And I think another thing in terms of like our model and sort of what we use that gets baked in is lived experience. Our CEO would call that our superpower at JVS SoCal, that our staff come with lived experience. And that really transcends in terms of motivating our students and motivating our customers. They feel hope when they come in because they see somebody who, like you said, has sat in their shoes. Maybe they were formerly incarcerated, but look, they were successful, and it's not easy coming out, but they can see from someone in front of them that gives them hope that we can do this and do this partner together. So I think in terms of kind of like the models that we use, I think soft skills continues. I think lived experience and taking advantage of that continues. Wraparound services, because we're dealing with barriers, people with barriers to employment. So that is partnerships. Partnerships everywhere. There's only so much that we can do by ourselves. And that's where, both community partners, government partners, foundations, we need to make sure that, they can get books, that when they finish our Apartment Works program in terms of support services, Harbour Freight Tools gives them that starter kit of all the tools they need. And they need that because we were finding that once they graduate, all the employer partners expect them to have it in order to start working. So that was critical, and that was a barrier. And again, working together, we overcome those barriers. So I think all of those things are elements of our programs. And for us, making it free to the community is something that we're able to do, and that's something that we hope to continue to do because we know everyone who comes into our programs and services is struggling. They're underemployed, they're unemployed, they're having financial struggles. So we're just glad that thus far we're able to give scholarships, partner with, again, government, public and private, to make those opportunities happen both within and with our partners that we work with.
Awesome. That is awesome. So, Blaine, I'm going to take President's prerogative, and I'm going to ask, look at it. He's in charge of keeping us on time, but I think it's important for everybody here to hear this. One sentence on how your organization provides hope, because hope brings motivation, hope brings confidence, hope brings the idea that there's something that I can gain here. One sentence, right? Don't get me in too much trouble. One sentence on what your organization does to bring hope. Dr. Hasagawa, you go first.
We change lives by creating and offering careers that enable our communities to live the American dream.
Love it. Love it. That's what we're all about, right? We all deserve that. Cynthia Mitchell-Hurd.
The Los Angeles Urban League impacts, educates, and never closes the door by providing access to all and giving everyone a place at the table.
You heard it, right? Awesome. Dr. Zealot.
He threw that challenge down and looked at me. Antelope Valley College believes in the human and shows students that the world is open to them, and we help them find that opening.
Thank you. Kim Fedrick.
Thank you. How do we give hope? I think similarly, we start with a person. We start with being very client-centered and making that connection to understand what it is that they're looking for, to giving them that hope, to inspiring them, to letting them know maybe the opportunities that they haven't seen, and then making those employer connections so that we bring this all full circle. We've got to have them at the table and our employers at the table to bring this full circle.
So the important thing about what you just heard, it comes directly from each of these individuals' hearts. None of that was planned. They didn't expect it. but I knew it was something that they could answer because they get up every morning and live this every day. They're in the business of giving people hope. And to that, I salute you all. Thank you. So, with that said, all right, Blaine, Diego, Greg, look at Greg Sneed, Janae, she beat you to the punch. Go ahead, Janae.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I know I've worked with most of you all or have met with you, and so I'm very familiar with your programs. So my question is, what is your organization or training institution doing differently to market your products and services to the elder population? That could mean 50 years that is facing ageism and knowing that the various barriers that they are having are much differently than 18 to 30 or 40. So what are you doing differently to be able to outreach to the largest population? Currently, right now, we have more individuals that are 65 years old in the nation versus 18 years old currently. And so those numbers are going to grow. It's not going to stop. So what are you doing differently to market to that particular demographic group to let them know that they are there? Thank you.
Thank you, Janae. Who would like?
Thank you. We too have begun to look at that. And we've begun to look at that by partnering with organizations that creatively are innovative in that space. One would be called Butterfly. They are a transportation company that started about 4 or 5 years ago, and Los Angeles Urban League said, no, this is a great partner that we can look at seniors because we know that transportation is difficult for seniors. Also looking at different resources for them and beginning to start those services now and those relationships. But also, when you are an organization that likes to partner, we're starting to have these conversations with other organizations that aren't necessarily thinking about that and having the conversations now and starting pilot programs that are similar to your question and seeing how we can help. It's not something that is a mystery to us, but it is having to be innovative. And because fundings for those populations are not as easy to get as we would think. So you have to be very creative and leverage those dollars for services. And after COVID, it just got worse for that population.
Thank you. Do I have time for one more? Okay. All right. Gregory. Push it down, push it up.
So college education, as we know, is getting more expensive and federal funding is declining. So what can we do as consumers to help you guys bring more revenue or more support from corporations that are helping, or sort of a green list of those who are helping, and maybe a yellow list of ones that could do better, and maybe a red list of ones who aren't doing anything. So we want to direct our dollars to folks who are supporting you guys. So how can we help you with getting more money to help workforce development?
I'll give a very quick answer and then punt to somebody else. I would say, please, if you're a political advocate, if you are in touch with any of your electeds, understand that there has been some very important changes. Workforce Pell was just recently passed, which allows Pell Grants to be given for shorter term certificates. And so you don't have to be in a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree to get Pell Grants, which is huge for underserved populations. Also, in the state of California, recent legislation was just passed that allows us to use strong workforce money for internships that actually pay the employer to, like, it pays our students to work for you. And so it's a paid internship that you don't have to pay for, and it allows the earn and learn model to grow. And so there are some wonderful things that are happening, but through political advocacy.
Okay. All right. We got a couple more? Okay, let's give one. Okay, I'm being told we have to hold it, but understand we're going to have networking afterwards. So you'll be able to talk directly to the panelists, right? So just hold on. We're going to give a lightning round. We're done? No, we aren't done. So step back. All right, step back. I'm going to, please, 2 sentences that you want to leave, 2 sentences, and then we're going to do each one. Dr. Zealot first, 2 sentences.
Education is a national security issue. There's 1.4 billion people in China, 0.34 billion people in the United States of America. If they educate a third of their population, they've educated all of us. And so education happens in every single form that you're seeing here on this panel. Support education, encourage people to learn and become bigger.
Yeah.
I would just say, like, what we're seeing in JVS is that college isn't for everybody. We do have programs that help support that. And we are seeing people changing careers later on, and we have programs that help to do that for the 12 careers that we looked at on the board earlier. Certifications are important. These short-term career goals are going to be really necessary, and I think that's what we're going to see moving forward. I'm looking forward to getting a little bit deeper into AI, which we're just touching on.
Cynthia.
I'm going to go a little bit different here. Remember, everybody that comes to work has to be healthy. So right now, it's really super important that we advocate out here for our health care. It will be important for you, the young, the seniors. It's important for all of us. So if you have to look into anything that you are trying to make certain happens and gets across, please, please, please have a loud voice within all of your entities and all of your areas of expertise. Please fight for health care.
Well said. I'll leave you with 3 thoughts in 2 sentences. 1, what got us here won't get us there. We have to think outside the box. We have to be creative, leverage partnerships. That's our ultimate superpower together. Number 2, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And if we wait for the future to unfold, it's too late. We got to keep the momentum behind these conversations, right? And number 3, which is just as important, is that teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Give us a hand. Give us a hand. Give them a hand. Thank you. Thank you for our panelists, Dr. Zealot, Kim Federick, Cynthia, Dr. Noel Hasagaba. And I want one person to come up here that tolerates me when I change the program. Come on up here, Blaine. Come on up here. All right? This guy, I call him the Wizard of Oz because he's the one behind the scenes pulling the levers that keeps me on track, even though he tries to. But I want to let you know personally, thank you for your work in helping put this panel together. But we are not finished. Go sit down. We're not finished yet. Okay, so next I want to bring up our featured speaker, Kelly LoBianco. Come on up, Kelly. I'm going to depart just a little bit from our there we go. I'm going to depart just a little bit from my script. Kelly and I worked together, another person that worked together with me on the California Jobs First initiative for the last 3 years. We were both on the steering committee out of 450 companies to start, over 700 now. 38 of us were voted in as steering committee members. I was blessed, I guess you could say blessed with herded cats and being the chair, but this is one of our strongest components. She showed up. A lot of times directors of really big public agencies, they feel they're important. Don't take this as a negative, but they send their surrogates. She showed up herself. And aside from that, she came here from New York. She brought a lot of, expertise to the LA region. And, she's a big advocate for economic security and mobility for all the residents. For those of you that need to know, she's managing a huge budget, but along with that comes responsibility. And I wanted her to come here today to talk to you about the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity. Kelly LoBianco, it's yours.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin really doing God's work on California Jobs First, so thank you so much. You had to wrangle hundreds and hundreds of people that all had big opinions, and you did a great job. As Kevin just said, I'm Kelly LoBianco, Director of the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity. I've had the pleasure of coming and joining BIzFed in past conferences and convenings like this, and so happy to see so many people I know in the room. For those that don't know, the Department of Economic Opportunity, very, very quickly, we're the county's economic development agency. So that means that we help workers, businesses, and communities. That's our customers. We're here day in, day out to support inclusive and sustainable growth in the region that drives opportunity and mobility for all of our community members. When it comes to workforce, we oversee the LA County Workforce Development Board and 18 America's Job Centers of California. We partner with the other workforce development boards, which have a total of 40 plus job centers throughout the region, offering no-cost training, no-cost connection to job opportunities in every sector. But we do a little bit more than that. We also oversee our Office of Small Business, so direct concierge for entrepreneurs and businesses that want to start up and grow. We oversee certification and contracting, helping local diverse businesses access the procurement power of the county and other public sector agencies. And we do community development and placemaking in a region with 4,000 square miles. Understanding that all of our neighborhoods, all of our cities have a unique flavor and economy themselves, and so helping revitalize commercial corridors, look at private and public spaces, and reimagining them for community-serving use. So you might think about DEO in the context of today, about job seekers and youth and like building the future of work, but you can also see us in the historic General Hospital, where we're turning that historic institution that so many people, probably many people in this room, were born in, into affordable housing, into innovation zones, into spaces for commercial businesses to site and serve the local community, and green spaces. So we're really thinking about how do we revitalize our entire economy. But today we're here to talk a little bit about workforce, which is a passion of mine. I actually come from the workforce space in DC and in New York and now in LA. And so it's near and dear to my heart to do this well, and so excited to be among so many leaders and practitioners. A couple things you might want to know about what's going on. I heard this last panel, which was excellent, and really it's more important to listen to them, because we're sort of behind the scenes. We're here helping set strategy, we're helping guide policy, we're helping marshal resources in. It's a really, really tough time if you read the news. It's hard to read the news, but it's also hard on our budgets. If you look at what's happening, both at the, it's not just both, but at the local, state, and federal level, we're having a rough time. But I see our role as making sure that we have sufficient resources for the workforce development ecosystem to continue to support our community members and our workers now and for all time. And actually also marshaling new resources that we've never had into the region. I've been so grateful to work with Kevin on California Jobs First, because that is a regional strategy where the ecosystem of partners, whether it's workforce development leads, economic development leads, private sector, our community-based organizations, philanthropy, all coming together to say, like, what do we want the future to look like, and how can we set a plan in action that mobilizes state to invest in us. And so through that effort, we actually just had $24 million approved by the governor for California Jobs First, yes, which is awesome, for life sciences. One of the major sectors that we know not only provides great jobs, but I heard my colleague at the Urban League talking about healthcare and improving our well-being. So we are going to be with LAEDC creating basically like a business attraction strategy, getting life science companies to come here, working with Bioscience LA to create our brand and making sure that everybody knows, whether it's local, whether it's national or global, the competitive edge for our life sciences sector. We're going to be working with LARDA to create acceleration spaces and access to capital for our unicorn, all of our great like R&D coming out of the amazing educational institutions and healthcare institutions here, and making sure they stay here all the way through manufacturing and commercialization. And the Department of Economic Opportunity is going to be building graduation space. So if you're a small business in an incubator, and you might only have one or two people and you're an entrepreneur, we want you to stay here and grow here and create spaces for you to have wet lab and other commercialization space. So those are some of the things that we're doing if you join California Jobs First and are starting to think about systems change with us. On some of the other things that we're doing that you might want to know about, I heard some folks talk about high road training partnerships. We're really excited to partner with the Urban League and probably some other folks in this room on those. These are worker-centered, industry-informed training models that lead to not only quality jobs today, but job equity, job quality, and climate resilience over time. Through the county's Care First community investment and leveraging some of our American Rescue plans, we've invested over $30 million in high road training partnerships. And just this summer, we launched 19 with just incredible organizations across sectors, across partners. And they're doing things like rebuilding from the fires. They're doing things like greening our industries. They are supporting home care workers, creating their own co-ops, really creative ways to lift up sectors that maybe have historically offered low wages to meet current demands in the region, and doing it creatively. And we're just excited to be able to bolster some of these models and continue to drive funds into those. We also are supporting our young adults. So the county runs one of the largest youth workforce development programs, Youth at Work. We offer paid work experience for young adults 14 to 24 to get an earn and learn opportunity with a work site, whether it's a private or public entity. Everyone in this room could have a Youth at Work participant if you want to partner with us in our job centers. But we're doing a couple of special initiatives because there are moments in our current economy that require it. So we have special programs for youth that have been impacted by the Eaton fire. So we're working with our new Altadena Job Center to get folks enrolled in that. We are working with the Child Welfare Agency of the county. So there are foster youth who are currently on a guaranteed income program, and we're working with them to get access to paid work experience as well. So as they transition out, they have a pathway into great jobs that the county supports. And we're going to be launching a program next week, so you hear it here first, to support youth that have been impacted by immigration enforcement action and their families that have been impacted. So we're trying to mobilize opportunities that not only give people experience in the professional realm, but also put money in their pockets, which we know is important to their families right now, especially as you're seeing cuts from all angles. And then two things that are happening that I just want to make sure folks know. Last time I was here, I think it was right after the fires, we were really right in it. We have supported over 2,000 workers with financial relief that have been impacted by the fires. But we also have partnered with the state Employment Development Department and the city of LA and our other workforce boards to bring in $20 million to help dislocated workers from the fires. And so we still are recruiting for 3 to 5 month paid work experiences with our county agencies on the cleanup and recovery. So folks that have been impacted by the fires can join public works, or they can join our beaches and harbors or public health departments, even join some of our AJCCs to get back into work and maybe even a pathway to the public sector. And we're partnering with folks like the Hospitality Training Academy to help sectors that were largely impacted by the fire. So not necessarily just dislocated workers, but others that lost their jobs in hospitality and professional services and in construction. And we're also investing in surge workforce for the rebuild. We know it's going to be a long rebuild over the next 5 to 10 years, and we have a lot of capacity for electricians and carpenters. And so we're working with our partners in the trades and many schools, hopefully in this room, to make sure that we're meeting that demand in real time. And so that when we rebuild locally, and that money goes back in the pockets of our partners. And then the last thing I'll say is that we know that, I was just thinking about your comment for 2 sentences. I was like, what would I say? I have a lot of optimism. We were created 3 years ago in the midst of the pandemic, and I can't if you wrote down all of the crises that we've faced in the last 3 years, like I blacked some of them out. Like we just like sort of move on to the next one. And when I reflect back, I'm like, oh God, I forgot that we had that situation that we managed through. I'm sure you all are processing the same. But the crisis is constant, but our ability to build the resilience of our workers and our businesses and our communities is something we can control so that the impacts of those crises, those economic disruptions, is less impactful and less disproportionate than it has been for all time. And so that's what we're focusing on too, getting in a proactive posture of building resiliency in our communities, and making sure that we have a turnkey plan in a crisis. And so, for example, right now, there's a federal shutdown. This is going to be impacting benefits for folks. Like that is very, very real. And you're going to be hearing from the county in like short order about, how do we get the word out and how do we support folks? We have immigration enforcement actions that are continuing to take a toll, and create uncertainty in our region. And so, we are just making sure that whatever it is that we can do, whether it's relief, through cash grants and things like that, creating pathways to our youth at work programs, making sure folks know that our America's Job Centers are a safe place for them to join and find not only a job, but a connective network of supports, that's what the DEO and the county is all about. And so I hope to partner with you on like one-off programs and also big ideas to bolster the security and the economic mobility opportunities for everyone in our region. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to take a couple of questions again.
Hi, Kelly. I'm Lydia. I'm with UCLA Extension. And when we were listening to the panel, we also had the president of the Antelope Valley and these non-traditional learners and this idea of big ideas and how do we really leverage these certificate programs with you, I think is a big question because we have the internships and the work, but then we also have the skills and the certifications and just really understanding how we can work together to make that happen would be great.
Yeah, I appreciate that question because I think that we have a lot of work to do to better connect our public workforce system and our education systems. It is happening now, and so I don't want to undermine, there's been a lot of amazing efforts and partnerships, but I think from the Department of Economic Opportunity standpoint, we would like to do more. And so, for our job centers and some of the training dollars we've had in the past, traditionally, it's been through, and anyone who's very familiar with Workforce Investment Opportunity Act and whatnot, you go to a job center and you can get a voucher of training programs on the eligible training provider list, and you can go get that no-cost training, and you can then access other supportive services from our job centers. Our community colleges and other educational institutions there's a lot of barriers to getting on that list, and also it doesn't allow you to think about larger scale systems change kind of partnership. It's more about customer choice and universal access. All good, and we want to make sure that that pathway is still available. But I think through the high road training partnerships, that's one way we've seen educational partners come more formally into the role and be able to be us to leverage and braid funding more significantly. But I think there are others as well. And so look forward to talking to you and thinking about how we can unpack some of the ways that we've thought we've had to deliver education and training services through the public workforce system.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Esther Landon. I'm the Senior Workforce Development Manager at Los Angeles World Airports, and I oversee the First Source Hiring Program over at LAX, and we connect local residents to private airport employer career opportunities there at the airport, and I'm a liaison for over 300 private airport employers. I host a quarterly workforce development task force meeting that we're having coming up on October 28th, so I'd like to invite everyone in the room to participate in that. It is a virtual meeting. I'll be more than glad to give you my business card so I can get you on that email distribution list. I did want to make a couple of comments. Our representative from the Port of Long Beach forgot to mention, I live in Long Beach, so this is why I'll speak on his behalf. Um, the city of Long Beach just also launched a local hiring initiative as well. So a lot of the pathways that was mentioned at the high schools, students who graduate from those programs and other special populations that live within the city of Long Beach will also be given preferential points for positions with the city, including positions at the port. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I think that's a wonderful initiative, and it very similar to the initiative that I run over at Los Angeles World Airport. So I just wanted to give a shout out there. And I also wanted to just make a comment to our dean from the UCLA Extension program. In your presentation, you mentioned that employers are seeing the value of credentials to be equal along the lines with, college degrees. And so I would encourage us to change the way we talk about them. The words alternative credentials was used in the presentation. I would stop referring to ourselves as alternative because then it gives that impression that it's different than or it's less than. If the value is now there, let's start elevating ourselves by changing our language and stop calling it alternative credentials. Thank you. Thank you. And you also mentioned about the regional collaborative that you were interested in. I would love to be able to talk to you and anybody else in the room about the talent pipeline management model that's funded through the United States Chamber of Commerce. And it's exactly what you're talking about. I've been through their training, I've been through their academy, so I'd love to be able to talk to you a little bit more about that because we're also implementing that over at LAX as well with our airport employers. Thank you.
Awesome. I actually just want to lift up Long Beach is doing something very cool with their Pathways to Long Beach employment. And so I just want to lift that up too, because I didn't mention it here, that the county, we talk about high road employers a lot, but we're trying to make sure that the county is a good model ourselves and that we are also a high road employer. And we are hiring, we're constantly hiring. We have over 110,000 employees. And despite the budget situation that you read about in the news, we still are hiring. And so we run a couple of programs called the PLACE program. I know our workforce team is here and certainly connect with them if you're interested in helping connect programs to Pathways to County employment because we hire everybody.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Kelly. You always show up. Kelly is one of those leaders that is accessible. She answers my call. She's here today. The next person I'm going to introduce is near and dear to my heart, Alysia Rivers. Come on up, Alysia. Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at the next force of nature in this space. Alysia came up with an idea a couple of years ago called the BIzFed Advocacy Academy. This was her idea. She wrote the plan, right? Detail, right? And she went out and found over $1 million to execute the plan. In addition to that, she said, you know what, this is my plan, I found the money, I want to run this thing, I'm the program. She gave herself a promotion. Right? You gotta love that, right? So we talked about the first female leaders to run an organization for 100 years. Here's the next one. And more importantly, aside from asking me to mentor her, she mentors me also. Mentoring is always a reciprocal relationship. And I'm very proud of her, so I want to give her flowers today in front of all of you. And the idea is this, I'm not going to steal her thunder, but her organization actually makes it possible for businesses and the people that work for them to empower themselves. So I'm going to leave it at that. Please give Alysia Rivers a hand, please.
We've got a little video to play, so we'll go ahead and hit that first. Thank you for that, Blaine. So yes, again, my name is Alysia Rivers. I'm the program director for the BIzFed Advocacy Academy, and it is truly, truly an honor to be here today because, like Kevin stated, this whole entire program started off as an idea, truly an experiment, and he spoke about the self-promotion that I earned. But it's true. When I first started with BIzFed back in 2022, I was the membership and grants manager. It was my job to interface with the over 200 and now 45 nonprofit associations. We represent all of LA County, so it was my job to go out and meet with the different chambers, trade associations, and we are a grassroots member-driven organization. So what that means is we need our members to be engaged and active in order to represent their needs, in order to have these forums and have consensus. So if we have a population that is increasingly disengaged, then that's a problem for us. We have all of these companies and organizations that are members here, but if we are not really getting down to the root and understanding the needs of every single one of those chambers, local members, and what they have going on, then there's a huge information gap. So this is 2022, so it's only a few years post-COVID. I'm calling, introducing myself to all of the different nonprofits and asking like, hey, so what are the issues that you and your members are facing? And what we found was that, chamber doors were closing. They had maybe one or two people in the office managing everything, overwhelmed, and they really didn't know how to advocate for their members. BIzFed Institute, we are a strategic partner. But in order to do that, again, we need our leaders to be able to speak to the needs of their members. And that wasn't happening. So I said, okay, let's, for about a year, we operated on a pilot where we were just educating our chamber leaders on how to effectively run their business, because nonprofits are business. It is a business. So we're teaching them how to advocate, how to engage. And then that really, opened up a can of worms where we're like, hey, let's educate our small business owners, because it's a lot more effective if they know how to reach these resources and advocate for themselves, not just for themselves, but their businesses, their industries, and their communities. So what we teach in the Advocacy Academy is a formula. It's a formula that you can apply to whatever it is that you care about. So, and because I'm looking around the room and it's so awesome, we actually just had a culmination event yesterday where we had 65 graduates. So that's 65 business leaders that are out in the community. They have the tools, the resources, and the guidance they need to, we have different policy issues being presented. Their policy on how to invest in mental health. And actually, since I have so many people here, we're gonna go like flash mob style. If you are an Advocacy Academy graduate, will you please stand? And I know Janae is, she's very familiar here. She graduated in our last cohort. We're assisting and still working with her when it comes to her passion, which is veterans. And I'm just gonna ask for a second, Adelie, you graduated yesterday. Can you go ahead, and you can even join me up here if you'd like. We have a couple minutes, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you. So they just did their presentations and their advocacy projects yesterday. So I just want you to get a taste of, what we're producing and what we are actively looking for partners to continue to grow.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is kind of a shock, but
she was definitely put on the spot.
Yesterday we had our graduation for BIzFed, and we had this exit interview that we had to do. And it was like, okay, and I was like, I didn't get mine, so, everyone had to like scurry through and do these questions, but they were really thought-provoking questions. So mine didn't go through yesterday, so Alicia's like, you have to do this. And so I was able to actually sit and that's one recommendation I would actually make, if you can actually give people the time, because I feel like it was so impactful. BIzFed, I went there and I was thinking, okay, what am I gonna do? It's like advocacy, what is advocacy? Like for my business, I'm thinking that it's really for policymakers, for the community, for leaders. And I was like, why would I need to know this? Because what changes am I going to make? Coming to the BIzFed, I was like, all these different classes we had, they were all online, so you kind of were in the comfort of your home, but we got to meet amazing people. You know, it's learning to have a voice that you don't really realize that certain things that, you know, from mental health to just, you know, simple things that we do in our everyday life make these changes. And so I was actually, I walked away like, wow, I was calling everybody like, you have to come to this class. And so I know that they have a cohort coming up and it's almost full, I think. But I really like, just even all the panels that were up talking today, talking about all these opportunities for work, these are the things I think that are so important for our community to really be able to reach out and tell people, because somebody needs this, you know, we all need this. And so I thank you, because this was great. And then I found out too that this was her thing. I was like talking to her and I was like, this is so great. And she's like, yeah, it's mine. I was like, what? So, you know, it's so, I love seeing women, you know, nothing against the men, but I love seeing, because it's kind of like a man's world. But when I see women making an impact, it's an impact on me too. And I have daughters, so I love like showing them like, hey, look what you can do. So thank you for this and, you know, for the advocacy and also this platform too, because all the speakers that were up here today really kind of opened my eyes and given me information to kind of take to other people. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I love that. So just a little bit about the Advocacy Academy. You got to hear straight from the horse's mouth, and please get with all of the different fellows that have graduated to hear more of their firsthand experiences. But we're teaching you how to build coalitions. We're teaching you how to find and build on unconventional partnerships, how to do your pitch, and most importantly, how to navigate government so that you can get to the access to the power that we all deserve, right? So, and that's just a little bit about what we're doing now. We are actually on a really strong path forward with Kevin as my mentor and leader, which I'm really excited about. We have established now a partnership with Arizona State University where we are building out a global trade readiness program. So that's going to live on their international platform where, you know, there are a lot of programs now where we're preparing our small business owners for that billion-dollar economic engine that's coming, known as LA28 and, you know, Super Bowl and all those other procurement opportunities. But what is stopping LA from introducing itself to the world? We can go beyond our borders. We don't have to wait for these events to come here, especially after the fires. It kind of, that was really the inspiration behind it, because businesses need to be pivot ready. Because there's going to be another crisis, there's going to be another natural disaster, so on and so forth. So in order to have stability, you need to have options. And even with that currently being built and hopefully ready to launch within maybe Q1 or Q2 of 2026, we have also started working with partners such as Cordoba and even AV College to build out a pre-apprenticeship program. And what we're finding is, because the Advocacy Academy, again, is here to fill in those information gaps and gaps in access. So we have a lot of apprentice programs out there, and what they're finding is that people are coming and they want these high-paying jobs, but they're not actually ready. So they need to go through some training with those soft skills, those digital literacy skills, AI. We're also actually partnering with some fellows from our last cohort to help build out an AI digital literacy tools program that's going to be available as well. So we're really here to you know, put the pedal to the metal and fill in those information gaps so people can thrive. And it's all by getting access to the information that's already out there. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic back to Kevin so you guys can get to lunch. Thank you.
See, I told you. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to thank you all for coming here today. I hope the information that you were able to take in was impactful. I hope that you found some actionable items that you can take back to your organization, that you can use yourself, but most of all, encouraged. that regardless of, what you see on the internet or whatever you hear on the news, that at the end of the day, it's all about what you decide to do. And, as long as you're self-motivated and there are resources and relationships that you can pull from and, collaborate with, anything is possible. And again, not to sound too corny, but this is America. This is what we do, right? And what's in this room, it represents who we are in terms of the fabric of this country, a fabric of our region, our county, and our city. And we're here together, collaborating, sharing resources and ideas. So we're going to feed you. There's food in the back. There's time to network. There's time to talk about careers and people who are hiring before the career fair. And those of you that are interested in going to the career fair, it starts at 1 o'clock. So I want to thank you and also let you know that our next summit is going to be communications, cybersecurity, and AI. Is going to be at the Verizon 5G Innovation Lab in Playa Vista. I bet none of you have been there, right? This is for people that are technology inclined or you want to learn about how AI and other technology is being used, not only in businesses, but also in our infrastructure, whether you know it or not, things controlling traffic lights and water and electricity and all that good stuff. But also there's going to be some robotics there, stuff that you haven't seen yet. So come on and join us. You're on our mailing list. You're going to be getting the information. Sign up. If your budget is short and you promise to show up because it is very limited, I'll comp you, right? I'll comp you. But if you do have budget, this isn't a 501c3. Pay the money. All right. Listen, I appreciate you all. Whether you believe it or not, I don't want to get too corny, but again, you guys are doing God's work. Whatever your belief system is, you guys are here to better mankind, womankind, and you're not, sitting at home or trying to avoid this kind of work. It's very important. So thank you for being here. Network, trade information, talk, have some food, and if you're inclined, stay for the career fair. Thank you all.